Good morning to all you fans who are watching us live streaming from our YouTube channel and website. Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps circuit. We're here for our second race of the season. In our first round, yesterday we had a very exciting and high intense race. Today we're having again 16 drivers in the grid with 5 teams fighting for the points. Yesterday we have a fully wet race that made all the teams to change the strategy they were prepared to do, but today is totally different because we had a fully dry race, and of course maybe the podium will be totally different than we have seen yesterday. Mari Boya starts in first position in the grid, and making a little resume from yesterday. Campos had two drivers in podium with Francesco Braschi in first position, and well, unfortunately, Palou was the only driver who hasn't any driver in the podium, so no points. Let's see what happens today. We're having a very amazing weather today, and the environment is amazing. Fans are had very great expectations. So let's see what's happening. You will have in the other side of the screen, we'll have my colleague, who will be telling you everything about the race.
Well, hello and welcome to Spa-Francorchamps for this second race of the opening round of this new championship for 2023. It is in essence, it is a kind of Formula 3 light to a degree. This is a step really between Formula 4 and the kind of FIA Formula 3 level. It represents really with a slightly lower budget, lighter cars, and as we saw yesterday, plenty of action. But it's a dry day today, so I don't think we're going to see anywhere near the kind of craziness that we did see in yesterday's race. What I can tell you is that after one race of 16, I should say, Francesco Braschi leads the championship with 27 points, with a win and the 2 he scored for the fastest lap. And Cenyu finished second in that race, and a fantastic drive for him, and Suleiman Zanfari came home third. And really the story was the Formula 4 race just beforehand had been red flagged after a brief rain shower, and it stopped really suddenly, and it seemed to dry out on a lot of circuits before the EUROCUP-3 race got going. And then, as they were pretty much lined up on the grid, we had another rain shower. A lot of drivers were still on dry tyres, but effectively the top 3, Braschi, Cenyu and Zanfari, had changed to wet tyres. We had a couple of late pit stops from Sebastian Ogier, who moved to dry onto wets. He basically went from 15th up to 5th, and a couple of laps later, Nick Gilkes, he also pitted for wet tyres. He went from 12th to 7th position. So lots of action. And yesterday, but I feel it may be a little bit more straightforward today. 15 starters for today's race. As you see the grid being cleared now, bit by bit, slowly but surely. We're a couple of minutes away from the actual start of the race. You can see the 4 red lights on the starting gantry. You can also see the very familiar sight of mechanics leaning over the cockpit with the drivers, getting that last fist bump, the last shake of the hand. It's the last instructions. From this point on, it's down to the drivers, the nuts behind the wheel, as they say. Let me see. Towards the rear there, that is Sebastian Ogier. He is starting last. He and Zanfari, no times from qualifying. See the grid on screen now. The front row, Mari Boya again, pole position. Second pole of the season. didn't work out yesterday for him. Nick Gilkes is starting second. He actually started further down the order yesterday, with Javier Sagrera starting third and Bruno Del Pino fourth. Then you got race winner yesterday from yesterday, Francesco Braschi, with Miran Pingasov starting sixth. He didn't finish yesterday's race. Pierre-Louis Chauvet is seventh place, with Jose Antonio Garfias starting eighth. He also spun off yesterday and did not finish. On the fifth row of the grid, you have William Carlson starting ninth. He was running ninth for much of yesterday's race, but actually lost a couple of positions on the final lap, came home in 11th. Esteban Masson started towards the front yesterday, but on dry tyres fell down several positions. He starts 10th for today's race. Tisanopol Intrapuvuzak had a start from 4th yesterday, but really didn't enjoy the terrible conditions and actually ended up finishing 11th. And then you have Sebastian Gravlund, who will get away 12th, the former Spanish Formula 4 driver. Then the podium sitter, the second place man from yesterday's race, Han Cenyu, starting 13th, with Suleiman Zanfari 14th, and Sebastian Ogard taking up the final position on the grid. So this is quite a full weekend. We're also having Spanish Formula 4 racing alongside us. And the idea being that the kind of creation of this is Spanish Formula 4 would, in essence, kind of be an indirect lead specifically into this EUROCUP-3 category. They are paired for much of the season alongside the Spanish Racing Weekend category. This weekend, of course, it's a slight outlier. We are in Spa-Francorchamps. This is a category that we're supporting the 24-hour GT series. But if it means we get to race at the fabulous Spa-Francorchamps, well, it's always a bonus. On the left-hand side of your screen, pole sitter, that is Mari Boya in the orange-tinted number 24 MP Motorsport car. On the right-hand side of your grid, line up second, Nick Gilkes in the DriveX entry. DriveX School is a team co-founded by Fernando Alonso several years ago. And we are now live with the dummy lap to the grid. It really was quite difficult to really put into words just how bizarre yesterday's race actually was. And definitely caught me off guard. Francesco Braschi at one point in the race was something in the region of 8 seconds a lap faster than the next quickest driver. Very, very much a head scratcher, but a brilliant change, last second change in strategy that allowed him to shoot. I think he was running about 7th at the time, and allowed him basically to shoot up to 1st. As we see the 15-car field make their way around. It was a slightly deliberate action to keep the field relatively small. By the way, you do see in the shadows, you can see it on screen now, there are still some wet patches on the outlines of the circuit. It was a bit of rain overnight. You do not want to go too far over there because it will catch you out. As we come now to the back end of the circuit. And also be slightly wary. I don't know why I'm sure the engineers have told the drivers this already, but you don't necessarily want to get on the curbs either, because although the track itself might have dried out somewhat, that's necessarily going to be the same for the actual curbs, which in a lot of cases will kind of retain water in their little grooves overnight. Something we saw in the Formula 4 race yesterday with Valerio Rinicella spun off, effectively having just got a wheel on a damp curb. Heading to Heading to Blanchimont now. Heading to Blanchimont now. And the field lining up to start this race. Now, the last few drivers pulling into their positions. And hopefully the start of a safe and fun race. All lined up, we're waiting for the marshal to wave his flag in the background. He has his green flag and he waves it nicely. The lights count down and we have 5 red lights. And they are out and they are go. And it's a good start by Moya. Leading from the front, Gilkes there as well. As they come round La Source. One of the drivers going slightly off circuit, kicking up some dust. And a real pack through the field as they go down the dip into Eau Rouge and then up Radillon, bunched together. And over the top of the hill, down to the Kemmel Straight. Moya continues to lead, but he's got a challenge directly behind. And that is from Javier Sagrera in the middle of the track. But can he make the lead? Yes, he can. Around the outside and takes the lead of the race. Someone's gone off track completely. Gilkes, I don't think, had necessarily the best start in the world. I think he's down in 4th position. But a fantastic start by Javier Sagrera to take the lead from Moya. And I do believe that's Francesco Braschi in 3rd position. And not the best opening lap for the first row pairing. We see in the background there, Han Cenyu trying to make up several positions. He's already up to 11th place from starting 13th. And locked wheels, you do not want to lock your tires too much. There's 30 minutes plus 1 lap of this race. You do have to make those Hankook tires last. Sagrera, Moya, Braschi. That is the top 3 as it stands. Bruno Del Pino is actually who is in 4th place, and then Francesco Braschi is 5th. As they come through the bus stop, take the right and then the left and onto the start-finish straight once again. Sagrera, Moya. Sorry, it is Braschi in 3rd place. Gilkes 4th. Chauvet is up to 5th. But this could change in the pack once again. We see Interprovizak in the middle at number 14. White Machine's 7th position, but being crowded out either side by Garcia and Del Pino. And it's Masson in the pack as well, challenging Interprovizak. And he's got a run, having got a nice draft coming up the hill. But they're 3 wide down the Kemmel Straight. Masson is just ahead of Interprovizak. And it's Pingasov just behind them. So we see Gilkes there in the white Drive X entry, just ahead of Chauvet. Ogard from starting 15th is already up to 12th. He's actually just behind Cenyu, making good. Actually up to 11 now, he's gotten past Cenyu. Good effort there from the Dane. who drove so well in yesterday's race to make up positions later on, albeit on different tyres from everyone else. But as it stands, Sagrera continues to lead, but he's not pulling away from Boya. The gap is in around 1 second, lost about half a second on the opening sector of this lap, but then regained that half a second in the middle sector. But right now, we're looking at Chauvet and Gilquez in that battle for 4th and 5th positions. Fairly static in the top 3, but definitely a fight on for the top 4. As they come around the final corner, start another lap. We could see Braschi challenging Boya for 2nd place very soon. And Chauvet has got past Gilquez through Blanchimont into bus stop, so that is a change for 4th and 5th positions. And we see coming up the hill, and the orange MP Motorsport cars getting a run. That is just ahead of Cenyu, so that's Ogard on Pinkasov. Pinkasov in a Palou Motorsport entry. That is for 10th position. Pinkasov, one of the 2 who didn't finish yesterday. And really showing the eclectic nature of this championship. You know, the top 4 drivers, as being pointed out by Wark F1 in the chat, just from 4 different teams. Sagrera from Palou Motorsport leads, Boya from MP Motorsport is 2nd, Braschi from Campos Racing is 3rd, and Chauvet from DriveX is running 4th. And a lot of that is also has a lot to do with the fact, you know, you have teams who are to a degree trying to work their way through these cars, learn everything they can about them. They have had testing, but really it's in race conditions that you truly find out the meat and bones of these machines. In the 3rd lap of this race, by the way, meanwhile, Boya currently holds the fastest lap, but I think Sagrera, the race leader, is going to take that off him in a few moments' time. As we come through once again the bus stop to complete the 3rd lap of this race. And Sagrera does set the fastest lap, but only by 0.02 of a second. Boya is still very much there in 2nd place and not letting the race leader get away. The gap is 0.8 of a second. And in one hand, for some, that might be considered relatively comfortable. But in another hand, it's also not far enough away to be complacent, particularly when you come through Radion and the Kemmel Straight, and you can just see on the screen there just how much Sagrera is having to work to keep Boya behind. That 0.8 of a second gap over the start-finish line shrinks to almost nothing at the end of the Kemmel Straight, and we see another challenge for position here. That's Han Cenyu trying to get into 11th place ahead of Pinkasov. But the Palou Motorsport racer in the black and white machine working really hard to keep Cenyu behind. That is, of course, Palou Motorsport is the brainchild of Alex Palou and his father, as they're really looking to kind of create a pathway for younger drivers to come through motorsport. Palou, of course, raced for a couple of seasons in Spain in the Euro Formula Open Championship, if I remember correctly, back when it was F3 Open, and really benefited from the kind of lower cost category that it was at the time. And here in EUROCUP-3 we have that kind of lower cost category that would hopefully allow drivers to kind of get out and race without having the careers halted by budgetary constraints. And it's working well so far this weekend. A nice field of 15 drivers. There's a message going out from race control. All drivers really must respect track limits. And definitely several taking some advantages. And so we're on the 5th lap of this race. There's a position, a change for position there. That is Esteban Masson going side by side into Lacuma's. A brave move, and no, you do not want to do that. It's a spin, and we have a driver in the barrier. That does look like one of the MP Motorsport entries. Just a yellow flag at turn 6. That is Bruno Del Pino. That is in the barrier. And his race is done. The safety car has been called. Not just because the car is beached as such, but also quite significantly damaged, I think, on the rear wing, and possibly, we can't see it, but also the left-hand side, because Bruno Del Pino has taken a hit on the wheel, and also the wheel has then had an additional hit in the barrier itself. And a very, very disappointed Bruno Del Pino. It was relatively 50-50 as he entered the corner, but I do wonder if Masson may take a little bit of pain for sticking with the move, clashing with Del Pino when he was one very much looking to stay on track. Safety car it is. And Sagrera's narrow lead, as tiny as it was, is now neutralized completely. And to run through the order, the driver on screen now is Sagrera. He is leading for Mari Boya with Francesco Braschi in 3rd position. Another good effort for him. Starting 5th, he is 3rd. Pierre-Louis Chauvet has made a move on Nick Gilquez a few minutes ago to take 4th place. Gilquez is 5th after starting 2nd. Jose Antonio Garfias is running 6th, with Masson in 7th. Sanapol Interpuvazac is 8th. Sebastian Ogard up to 9th place now. Of course, he would have gained an extra position with Del Pino in the barrier. Miron Pingasov is running 10th. Suleiman Zanfari, just before the safety car period, Suleiman Zanfari overtook Han Cenyu, so that was a change of position for 11 to 12 positions. Sebastian Gravlund is 13th, and currently William Carlson, who started 9th, is the last running driver, the Swede, in 14th place for Drive X. The field bunched together as Del Pino's car is carted away. And very damaged on the left front as well. As I mentioned earlier on in this race, this is the inaugural weekend of the EUROCUP-3 Championship. Single-seater championship. We'll have rounds here at Spa, then at Motorland Aragón at the end of this month. And in June, we'll be supporting the 24-hour GT series as well at Monza. That is the second weekend of June. And then in mid-July, we'll have a round at Zandvoort for the Zandvoort Summer Trophy. That's over July 15th and 16th. Then it's a little bit of a break. And then to Jerez on the 23rd and 24th of September, alongside Spanish F4. And then the following week, it's in Portugal, in Estoril. Wonderful little circuit. That's over the 30th of September and the 1st of October. Then the Ricardo Tormo circuit in Valencia over the 14th, 15th of October. And then finishing with a final round at the Circuit of Catalunya at Barcelona over the 11th and 12th of November. The safety car is going to be coming in this lap. And that incident between Del Pino and Masson is quite obviously under investigation from the stewards. If not a penalty in this race, I'm sure any penalty that is applied will be coming in the next round. But that is a discussion for them. The field is bunched up and we are ready to go to restart this race. Sagrera at the front, Boya in second place, in third. Chauvet is fourth, Gilkes coming across the line in fifth. We really won't see any overtaking at this stage, but drivers are going to be lining themselves up. Well, someone's trying to make a fool out of me. But they're going to see drivers line themselves up on the exit of La Source as they drive down towards the dip at Eau Rouge and then up towards Radion. And you see Masson is having a look at Garfias for sixth position. He's not going to make the move through there, but he will sit under the rear wing of his MP Motorsport rival. And don't forget, Interpuvazak is just behind both of them, could easily take two positions if he lines us up correctly. But you do have Masson on the inside of the circuit, and then Garfias on the outside. Masson's going to get that position, but then Interpuvazak goes on the inside of both of them and tries to take in, doesn't quite make it through. Masson does take the position from Garfias, but Garfias was not going to give that up easily. But meanwhile, Interpuvazak is still there, looking for an opportunity to take seventh place from his MP Motorsport rival and goes down the inside, takes a look, but it's not going to work there. No way is Interpuvazak going to get the corner, get through the corner in that scenario. We had a yellow flag briefly for a moment. It's just been withdrawn. Someone must have just gone off the circuit and rejoined. That is, of course, supposition. But meanwhile, for Interpuvazak in 8th place, is still going to be chasing Garfias and Masson. And really challenging, and he's going to have a look down the inside, and that's not going to work. But the problem for Interpuvazak is could very much see he's got Sebastian Ogard on his tail in 9th place, and Ogard is looking to make up some more positions, having started 15th. Done a very good job so far. Interpuvazak is going to look around the outside of Blanchimont. But can he get Garfias? Can he get a run on Garfias as they come around the long... Oh, someone's went clean off the circuit there, but rejoined. And I think that might actually have been Interpuvazak because he has got past Garfias. Ogard is still waiting, and then a lock-up from Pinkasov as they go through the actual bus stop. I do wonder if that overtake will stick, because it did look as if Interpuvazak went clean off the circuit and into the green runoff area to make that move. And maybe Interpuvazak has been told to give that back because Garfias pulls in. And retakes the move, but Interpuvazak is going to go for it once again through Eau Rouge. And that Radion, be very careful. You don't want to get both of them. Interpuvazak went off again rejoins the circuit now, is side by side with Garfias as they come down to Kemmel Straight. But you still have Ogard there just behind, and you also have Bruno Del Pino on the far right-hand side of the circuit. Ogard trying to take all of them in one go, but it's in Pervuvazak, has got the inside line, and he retakes Garfias. But is Bruno Del Pino going to go through? He's taken Ogard already. Del Pino on the inside, but can't quite make the move, and then Ogard uses that opportunity to the blockage of Del Pino to retake him as they go through Bruxelles, and retakes 9th position. And a locked wheel from Del Pino there as Garfias is looking, as Ogard is looking to take Garfias for what is now 8th position. And right at the back of that pack, you have Han Cenyu, Suleiman Zanfari for Campos Racing. Then you have Han Cenyu, both of them in their 11th and 12th positions, looking to take advantage of the fact that these guys are racing each other hard and holding each other up. And so a little bit of a breath with Han Cenyu. Really dropping down a bit. I think he's got Sebastian Gravlund in the MP Motorsport entry has gone past. And William Carlson is looking for an opportunity to get by. It's not been as successful a race this time around for Cenyu as it was yesterday when he finished in 2nd position. He's currently down towards the 13th position. As Sagrera crosses the line to complete another lap, that's 8 in the back. He's on lap 9 now. 9 minutes and 45 seconds plus 1 lap remaining. Boya is in 2nd place. Braschi is 3rd. Chauvet is in 4th position. Then Nick Gilkes is 5th. With Esteban Masson in 6th position ahead of Sanapol Interpuvazak. Jose Antonio Garfias is 8th. Sebastian Ogard is 9th. Miran Pinkasov is 10th. Suleiman Zanfari is 11th. He was on the podium sitter yesterday, not today as it stands. Sebastian Gravlund, as I mentioned, has taken Han Cenyu for 12th and 13th position. William Carlson is currently on screen, the number 44 white Trivex car, and 14th, but he's going to try and make that 15th. As they come up the hill, I think he may well have done so. And we are now looking at Mari Boya, the 24 MP Motorsport car. Ah, no, Han Cenyu has maintained 13th position. And it must be said, as Work F1 mentions in the chat there, running 8th place, Jose Antonio Garfias, a year out effectively. And this is actually a very, very good weekend for him as a welcome return. And it's a welcome result from a year out. It's difficult to take such an amount of time out and then step back in. And an impressive performance so far. And every point that he earns will be well worth it. Let's see drivers now coming around the back end of the circuit. And it must also be said as well, with Sagrera leading this race, and I'm just about to say this would be a really positive result for Palou Motorsport, who had a disappointing run yesterday, and none of their cars really finished. But actually, it looks as if the restart procedure for the race leader is going to be investigated after the race, so watch this space. Meanwhile, Mari Boya has taken 0.6 of a second out of Sagrera. And the gap now between the top two is down to 0.4 of a second. Braschi just behind them by another second. Although a bit of a gap then to Pierre-Louis Chauvet. The challenge now, this is Masson chasing Gilkes for 5th position. And we do see this is a challenge for the lead as Boya has the inside of Sagrera, but Sagrera holds out and maintains that lead, but now has actually found a way through Lecombe. And After a little bit of a stutter in the last lap, Boya has turned it on and has retaken the lead of this race with 6 minutes, 30 seconds and 1 lap remaining. He's certainly looking a lot more confident in this stage of the race, as opposed to Sagrera. Braschi, meanwhile, has pretty much caught up on Sagrera as well. And I do wonder, it does make me think if maybe Sagrera has gone past the best of his tyres. And that maybe he didn't really need that safety car because it kind of disrupted his flow. The tyre temperatures drop again. You lose a little bit of tyre pressure. As we see this tight battle for 5th position onwards. So Gilkes, Masson, then Intrapuvazak, and then you got Garfias, Sebastian Ogard currently in 9th position, Miran Pinkasov is in 10th. As the leaders now coming through the final corner to start their 11th laps. Sagrera very much looking in his mirrors now. He's lost a second to Boya in the course of that lap since losing the lead. He's got Braschi just behind. It's half a second, as I said. Then it's 3.5 seconds back to Chauvet, who's not under pressure from Gilkes at the moment. This is a good run for Chauvet, but Gilkes is under pressure from everyone behind. He's got Masson and Intrapuvazak right there. Garfias has dropped back slightly. He's under pressure from Sebastian Ogard. It's basically a Campos DriveX quartet through the middle section as they go up Radion. Braschi is closer to Sagrera for 2nd place, but not quite close enough. But someone who is very much close this time around is Chauvet and Gilkes as they battle over 4th and 5th positions through Le Combe. And Chauvet is ahead of Gilkes still. It was a momentary change of position, then it kind of swapped right back. But what it has done is ever so slightly brought likes of Masson, Intrapuvazak and Garfias back into contention for 5th positions. That battle very much held Gilkes up. He's lost a little bit of time, although the 2 MP Motorsport entries of Garfias and Ogard have dropped back slightly. This very much is a battle between the DriveX and the Campos entries. 3.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. If you're going to make a move, you've got to make it very, very, very soon. We see Intrapuvazak and Masson chasing down Gilkes. An incredible countryside in which this astonishing race circuit runs. As Boya leading from Sagrera, Braschi is still there. He made an attempt last time around, and there is an attempt for position. And someone has gone wide in bus stop. Couldn't quite tell exactly who that was. So out front there you have Chauvet, and that is Masson has got past Gilkes, and you've got Intrapuvazak right there as well. So Masson is up into 5th position. Gilkes down to 6th. Is Intrapuvazak going to try down the inside? Not quite yet, but I think he will get a run as we head down to Eau Rouge and then up by Radion. Intrapuvazak is the last of the 3 cars there, and you've got Gilkes stuck in the middle with Masson just ahead. And Intrapuvazak getting very, very, very close. Dips out slightly, but now Gilkes is pulled out of Masson. He's going to try and retake that position, but then you have Gilkes also trying to go through. Masson loses a position to both of them. But also Garfias is right there as well, trying to take advantage of any errors and anything that may happen. And the MP Motorsports, real pressure there for Masson. He was going for 1 position, actually ended up losing 2, and is under threat from losing another 2. But that is the jeopardy. that is a jeopardy of being drafted down the Kemmel Straight. So Interpuvazak is up to 6th position. He started 11th, very, very good job. But he'll still be looking at a top 5. The gap to Chauvet, there's a 1.5 second gap to Chauvet, so that's probably too far away for them to make up in such a small amount of time. Now we're coming through his leading order. Boya leads from Sagrera, then Braschi is still there in 3rd place. He would like to get 2nd, but 3rd certainly would not be a disaster by any stretch of the imagination. But he needs to get a run on Sagrera very soon. We're coming up to complete the 11th lap of this race, and I see really with 45 seconds plus 1 lap remaining, pretty much you've got 2 laps left. Sagrera, so Boya starts the 13th lap. Braschi sticks his nose out, reminds Sagrera that he's there. Sagrera doesn't need a reminder. Interpuvazak has taken Nick Gilkes for 5th position. So Interpuvazak up to 5th place, Gilkes down to 6th. Masson is still close by. Garcia is also very close in 8th position, and Ogard is right there in 9th. But as they 2nd and 3rd place drivers come up the hill, Braschi has got a run on Sagrera for 2nd position, pulls to the inside as they now go side by side, and we move away the picture as a whole gaggle of cars from 5th down into 9th all go side by side. And what we do have is Braschi has taken Sagrera for 2nd place. That is a change for the 2nd position. Sagrera down to 3rd. Disappointing, unfortunately, for the Spanish driver who led so well earlier on in this race. Oh, and we got a bit of a bumping and grinding through Le Combe as the cars check up in each other. Leading this pack is Interpuvazak. Then behind is Garfias. So Interpuvazak is up to 5th place. Garfias is 6th. And just behind that is Masson, just behind Garfias. I do believe that would be Ogard just behind them in 8th place, with Gilkes having now dropped down to 9th, and Pingasov is in 10th place, albeit several seconds back. And bring up the rear of the field. Carlson still chasing Cenyu for 13th position. I do believe that was a locked wheel by Gilkes at some point. But now we're coming into Blanchimont once again, and soon we'll round this incredibly quick corner. The leaders are already coming through the start-finish line to start what will be the last lap of this race. Boya leads, Braschi 2nd, Sagrera in 3rd place. We got a 6.5 second gap, and then Chauvet comes across the line. Then it's Interpuvazak. And it's Garcia, it's Masson, it's Ogard, Gilkes. Pingasov has taken 2 seconds out of Gilkes in that lap, but the gap is still just over 1 second. Then you have Zanfari, then you have Gravlund, and then you have Cenyu, and lastly you have Carlson. If you're going to make a move, it has to be now. You've got Ogard just behind Masson, and the gap may maybe just be a little bit too big to get a draft, but Ogard will be thinking, oh, well, I'm going to go for it anyway. That's over 7th and 8th positions as the top 3 come through Le Combe. You do have Interpuvazak defending and trying to break the draft from Garfias, and Garfias, he's got Masson just behind, and Ogard has gotten close to Masson, but it's just not quite close enough at this stage as they come through Le Combe. To the right-hander, then left. You do not want to make a mistake here. If you go onto the gravel, you will lose plenty of traction, you'll lose plenty of time, you'll probably lose a position, but this time they come through cleanly. Gilk is there in 9th place, but he's lost over a second to Ogard. And again, I wonder, maybe, this is a supposition, of course, but I wonder if maybe like Sagrera, he's possibly lost the best of his tyres and has struggled to hold on to positions once the race restarted after the safety car some time ago. Track limit warnings have been handed out to 2nd place man Braschi and Miran Pingasov down in 10th. But the warnings for now, nothing that's going to change the race at this stage. And Boya certainly doesn't want anything that's going to get in the way of him completing this race up front. He started in pole position, lost the lead very early on, and it took until pretty much the last quarter, last third of the race to get it back. He sat close to the original race leader, Sagrera, for quite a long time, didn't allow the gap to be broken, didn't allow his spirit, his confidence to be broken, stayed with him pretty much a second for the entire duration. And once the race restarted after the safety car, he was there to pounce, to take the lead, to take the gap over Sagrera, and now he is going to take the win. And he crosses the line. The checkered flag is his. He wins the race ahead of Braschi. Sagrera comes home third, completes the podium. And that is a fantastic drive. And certainly a far more sane and sedate race than what we had yesterday. And I'm sure the drivers are pleased. It's allowed them to get a real taste of these EUROCUP-3 cars in race conditions. Javier came home in 4th position, albeit 6.5 seconds behind 3rd place Sagrera. Palou took 5th ahead of Garfias, who was 6th. Esteban Masson was classified 7th. Sebastian Ogard came home 8th ahead of Nick Gilquez, who was 9th. Miron Pingasov rounded out the top 10. And then in 11th place, he had Suleiman Zanfari. Sebastian Gravlund, Han Cenyu took 13th place. And the final finisher today was William Carlson. As the drivers pull into Parc Ferme now, positions 1, 2, and 3. And Boya giving the number 1 board a little bit of a nudge, showing that who's boss. And he climbs out of his MP, his orange MP Motorsport machine, calmly puts the steering wheel back before standing on the nose of the car and letting rip with celebrations. It's a fantastic drive. I do believe, is that? For a second, I thought that was Facu Regalia. I might be wrong. But that is a wonderful effort from Mari Boya to take his first race win in EUROCUP-3. Oh, it is Facu Regalia. I haven't seen him in quite a few years. Nice chap. The top 3 drivers getting rightful celebrations. We'll see podiums in a few moments' time. The rest of the field kind of come backwards down the pit lane, and then I think they take the pit lane at Spa is split in 2 levels. It is quite an incredibly long track. As we see the final finishing order on screen. As mentioned a few moments ago, Mari Boya wins the race from Francesco Braschi, the race winner yesterday. Very good weekend for him. Javier Sagrera came home 3rd, with Pierre-Louis Chauvet 4th, then Tiziano Interpuvazac 5th, ahead of Jose Antonio Garfias. Esteban Masson 7th, Sebastian Ogard 8th, Nick Gilquez came home 9th. Disappointing race in the end for him. He fell down the order in those last few laps. Miron Pingasov came home 10th, and then you had Suleiman Zanfari, Sebastian Gravlund, Han Cenyu, and William Carlson were the rest of the finishers. I had a question earlier on about what the T was beside the flags. It's actually, I think, a reference to the chassis is a Tatus chassis. The make of the car. And Tatus really know how to make the machines. It's pretty much the same car that is used in the Formula Regional European Championship, but it's got an updated body kit. And as well as a new intercooler and battery kit. It's actually quite a bit lighter. It's 25 kilos lighter than the European regional car. And just beside it, the other insignia beside the T was representative of the Alfa Romeo Octotecnica engine, which is the it's a pretty powerful car for this level, 270 brake horsepower. So There's a nice pit meaty car. And Hankook tyres. Nice day at Spa. When we had the EUROCUP-3 race yesterday, it was pretty awful, I have to admit. Rain showers, and not just rain showers, but almost stormy showers. You could not see down the Campos Straight, such was the intense spray. But as it stands, not like that now. We've had a very, very nice dry run. And it's a positive thing to see as well. We've had a really good, solid run in these EUROCUP-3 cars. Wet races are great, but you don't necessarily want your first race in a new car to be a wet race because you want to see something representative. Well, we've finally seen something representative today, and these have shown themselves to be very good cars that allow drought necessarily being too easy to overtake with. This is a learning category, let's not forget. You know, while we adore the competition, we adore the challenge that these drivers face, they are looking into the future and seeing possibilities of Formula One or the World Endurance Championship or DTM or IndyCar. And this is their training ground. This is their preparation. And cars like this at circuits like Spa, precious laps, an incredible circuit like this really is where drivers lay down the absolute foundations for their careers. And so, as it stands, after the opening round of the championship, Braschi is leading, which is not terribly unusual considering he won yesterday and was second today. Boya is second in the standings, having won today and was fourth yesterday. But there's a very small gap between them. Cenyu and Braschi, who finished second and third yesterday, did not score points today. Sebastian Ogard, who was fifth yesterday, was only eighth today. So realistically, once you have Braschi, I haven't done all the sums yet, but basically once you have Braschi and Boya, there is a little bit of a gap to the next highest points scorer. And Sagrera, who finished third today, was a non-scorer yesterday. And Chauvet, who finished fourth yesterday, who finished fourth today, was only. So yeah, it's really only Boya and Braschi, the top two today, who've had any significant points scored over the weekend. As we're hoping to bring you the podium before we finish today's broadcast. And straight after this, of course, and you can see if you look on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see set up already for the next race, which is Spanish. So we're waiting to bring you a podium, which can be, it's a bit of a walk. You've got several flights of stairs to go around and kind of twist around at Spa before you actually finally do get to podium. And you can only get to podium pretty much through the press center, the top of the press center. But hopefully in a few moments' time, we will see drivers celebrating. Now, fastest lap today was scored by Mari Boya, so it'll be an additional point for him. That was a 2:17.472. Sagrera was the next fastest lap. The gap just 1/10 of a second. But interestingly, though, it was really Sagrera and Boya were the only drivers in that field of kind of that kind of band of time. Everyone else was pretty much well outside it. And so that is an additional championship point for Boya. Now, as we see, Boya is, of course, racing in the FIA Formula 3 Championship this year as well. And as such will probably not be at the next round. But we will see the podium first before we go into that.
Third place coming from Spain, Palou Motorsport Javier Sagrera. Second place coming from Italy with car number 28, Campos Racing, Francesco Braschi. He was the winner of the race yesterday, Francesco Braschi. And the winner of race 2 coming from Spain, MP Motorsport, Mari Boya. And that's a victory for Mari Boya. And we will welcome on the podium also the team representative of MP Motorsport. Voilà, le team représentatif, le représentant du team MP Motorsport. Et en l'honneur de la victoire de Mari Boya, on écoute bien sûr l'hymne national espagnol.
And so, as the podiums ring out,
La victoire de Mari Boya pour le team MP Motorsport, deuxième place pour Francesco Braschi, Campos Racing, la troisième place, Javier Sagrera pour Palou Motorsport, et c'est le team manager de MP Motorsport qu'on a sur le podium. We got to welcome the team manager of MP Motorsport on this podium. That's the podium, that's the top 3 of race 2 for the EUROCUP-3. Congrats, guys. First win this year for Mari Boya. Photo officielle sur le podium. The official pictures on this podium after this race 2 of EUROCUP-3. Okay, guys, congrats. And now it's time to celebrate. Let's celebrate.
thank you for watching this weekend's round of EUROCUP-3 at Spa-Francorchamps. We'll be back in 3 weeks' time at Motorland Aragón. Catch us again over May 27th, May 28th for more live EUROCUP-3 action. Until then, my name's been Leo Gorman. Thank you very much and have a great weekend.